Hello, children. Hallo, Kinder. We can't meet to read books at the moment. Leider können wir uns momentan nicht treffen. So here is a video story reading. Today we are reading Peter Rabbit, Peter Hase, by Beatrix Potter. Beatrix Potter lived a long time ago. She was very good at drawing pictures of animals. Beatrix Potter lebte vor vielen Jahren. Sie konnte wunderschöne Bilder von Tieren malen. The pictures in this video are big copies from a very old book. But if you look at a Peter Rabbit book yourself, you will see they are so finely painted. Die Bilder in diesem Video sind große Kopien aus einem sehr alten Buch. Aber schaust du in einem Beatrix Potter Buch, da merkst du, wie fein und schön die Bilder sind. Here is the tale of Peter Rabbit. Once upon a time, there were 4 little rabbits, and their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail and Peter. Es war einmal 4 kleine Häschen. They lived with their mother in a sandbank underneath the root of a very big fir tree. Sie wohnten mit ihrer Mutter unter einem Baum. Now, my dears, said old Mrs. Rabbit one morning, you may go into the fields or down the lane, but don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Ihr dürft überall spielen, außer in Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there. He was put in a pie by Mrs. McGregor. Dort ist deinem Vater etwas Schreckliches passiert. Now run along and don't get into mischief. I am going out. Then old Mrs. Rabbit took a basket and her umbrella and went through the wood to the baker's. She bought a loaf of brown bread and 5 currant buns. Dann ging Mrs. Rabbit zur Bäckerei. Flopsy, Mopsy and Cottontail, who were good little bunnies, went down the lane to gather blackberries. Flopsy, Mopsy und Cottontail sammelten Brombeeren. But Peter, who was very naughty, ran straight away to Mr. McGregor's garden and squeezed under the gate. Aber Peter rannte zu Mr. McGregor's garden. First he ate some lettuces and some French beans, and then he ate some radishes. And then, feeling rather sick, he went to look for some parsley. Saß und fraß viel Gemüse im Garten. But round the end of a cucumber frame, whom should he meet but Mr. McGregor? Mr. McGregor was on his hands and knees planting out young cabbages. But he jumped up and ran after Peter, waving a rake and calling out, "Stop, thief!" Aber da stand Mr. McGregor. Peter was most dreadfully frightened. He rushed all over the garden, for he had forgotten the way back to the gate. He lost one of his shoes among the cabbages, and the other shoe amongst the potatoes. Peter hatte Angst. Wusste gar nicht mehr, wie aus dem Garten kommen würde. After losing them, he ran on 4 legs and went faster, so that I think he might have got away altogether if he had not unfortunately run into a gooseberry net. Nachdem seine Schuhe verloren hatte, konnte eigentlich viel schneller rennen. Na ja, bis sich in ein Stachelbeernetz verfing. He got caught by the large buttons on his jacket. It was a blue jacket with brass buttons, quite new. Die schönen Knöpfe an seiner Jacke hielt ihm dort fest. Peter gave himself up for lost and shed big tears. Peter hatte keine Hoffnung mehr auf das Entkommen. Weinte. But his sobs were overheard by some friendly sparrows who flew to him in great excitement and implored him to exert himself. Aber die Spatzen machten ihn munter. Mr. McGregor came up with a sieve, which he intended to pop over Peter. Mr. McGregor versuchte Peter zu fangen, but Peter wriggled out just in time, leaving his jacket behind him. Aber Peter schlängelte sich aus, gerade rechtzeitig. Peter rushed into the tool shed and jumped into a can. It would have been a beautiful thing to hide in, if it had not had so much water in it. Peter eilte in den Gartenschuppen. Mr. McGregor was quite sure that Peter was somewhere in the tool shed, perhaps hidden underneath a flower pot. He began to turn them over carefully, looking under each. Presently Peter sneezed. Ka-choo! Mr. McGregor was after him in no time. Mr. McGregor suchte Peter. Aber dann plötzlich nieste der Hase. Mr. McGregor tried to put his foot upon Peter, who jumped out of a window, upsetting 3 plants. The window was too small for Mr. McGregor, and he was tired of running after Peter. He went back to his work. Peter sprang durch ein kleines Fenster. Durch das Fenster konnte Mr. McGregor ihm nicht folgen. Mr. McGregor gab auf. Peter sat down to rest. He was out of breath and trembling with fright, and he had not the least idea which way to go. Also, he was very damp with sitting in that can. Peter war außer Atem, verängstigt und nass. Hatte keine Ahnung, wo hin musste. After a time, he began to wander about, going lippity-lippity, not very fast, and looking all around. Aber nach einer Weile bewegte sich Peter. Lippity-lippity ging herum. Peter found a door in a wall, but it was locked, and there was no room for a fat little rabbit to squeeze underneath. An old mouse was running in and out over the stone doorstep, carrying peas and beans to her family in the wood. Peter asked her the way to the gate, but she had such a large pea in her mouth that she could not answer. She only shook her head at him. Peter began to cry. Peter fand eine Tür, aber es war zugesperrt. Eine kleine alte Maus holte Essen für ihre Familie, aber sie konnte Peter nicht helfen. Peter weinte. Then he tried to find his way straight across the garden, but he became more and more puzzled. Presently he came to a pond where Mr. McGregor filled his water cans. A white cat was staring at some goldfish. She sat very, very still, but now and then the tip of her tail twitched as if it were alive. Peter thought it best to go away without speaking to her. He had heard about cats from his cousin, little Benjamin Bunny. Peter sah eine Katze. Sie saß sehr, sehr still. Peter dachte, es wäre wahrscheinlich besser, der Katze aus dem Weg zu gehen. He went back towards the tool shed, but suddenly, quite close to him, he heard the noise of a hoe. Scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch. Peter scuttered underneath the bushes. But presently, as nothing happened, he came out and climbed upon a wheelbarrow and peeped over. The first thing he saw was Mr. McGregor hoeing onions. His back was turned towards Peter, and beyond him was the gate. Als lief, hörte Scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch. Versteckte sich, und dann sah Mr. McGregor, und in der Ferne erkannte das Gartentor. Peter got down very quietly off the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could go along a straight walk behind some blackcurrant bushes. Mr. McGregor caught sight of him at the corner, but Peter did not care. He slipped underneath the gate and was safe at last in the wood outside the garden. Peter rannte so schnell wie möglich. Mr. McGregor sah ihn, aber Peter rannte nur schneller. Drängte sich unter das Gartentor. Endlich war in Sicherheit. Mr. McGregor hung up the little jacket and the shoes for a scarecrow to frighten the blackbirds. Mit der kleinen Jacke und den kleinen Schuhen kleidete Mr. McGregor eine Vogelscheuche. Peter never stopped running or looked behind him till he got home to the big fir tree. He was so tired that he flopped down upon the nice soft sand on the floor of the rabbit hole. His mother was busy cooking. She wondered what had he done with his clothes. It was the second little jacket and pair of shoes that Peter had lost in a fortnight. Peter rannte und rannte, bis nach Hause kam. War so müde, schlief ein. Seine Mutter fragte, wo seine Kleider abgeblieben seien. I am sorry to say that Peter was not very well during the evening. His mother put him to bed and made some chamomile tea, and she gave a dose of it to Peter. 1 tablespoonful to be taken at bedtime. Peter fühlte sich nicht so gut. Musste Kamillentee trinken. But Flopsy, Mopsy and Cottontail had bread and milk and blackberries for supper. Aber Flopsy, Mopsy und Cottontail durften Brot, Milch und Brombeeren genießen. I hope you enjoyed this story about Peter Rabbit. You can find out more about rabbits from books in the library. And here are some web links about Beatrix Potter. You can look at this web page about Peter Rabbit. And best of all, you can read books by Beatrix Potter. Bye for now. Bis zum nächsten Mal.